I am Tamil, but with roots in Jaffna, which is in Ceylon. My forefathers were born in Jaffna, in Ceylon, and they migrated here maybe about 200 plus years ago. My great-great-grandfather was the first person that came out to this region. He was a trader, and he was trading in spice and tobacco and chilies. And he used to go back and forth with my great-grandfather. Then Sir Francis Light decided to ask quite a few of these people to settle down in the regions, especially around Penang. And my great-great-grandfather decided to settle in Penang, just inland from Penang. And he bought a lot of rice fields there. My great-grandfather also joined him and stayed there. But they did not bring their wives along with them. Their wives were living in Jaffna. The first person to come to this region with his wife was my grandfather, Ilyathambi, my paternal grandfather, and his wife Meenachi, and my maternal grandfather, Dr. Muthu, and his wife Sivagami Thayar. They came in 1890s and settled down in Malaya because the British brought them to work here. My paternal grandfather was in the roads. He was helping to build the roads to clear lands and all that to start the rubber plantations and the mines. And my maternal grandfather, Dr. Vairamuthu, was one of the early doctors that came and was in charge of some of the estate hospitals that was set up for the estate labor that was brought in to work on these plantations. Having had my grandmother being the first person that came in this region, I thought to myself, she must have had a lot of interesting experiences. Her journey here must have been amazing because she was from a very traditional background. And with her, she brought her traditions and her culture and her heritage. However, she integrated into this region very comfortably. She managed to learn how to use the spices and the herbs of this region and recreate her culinary skills to be able to embrace the local cuisine as well. And that is how we, as her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, learned from her heritage on the cuisine to integrate it into our everyday food fare on our tables. Traditionally, we use different types of vegetables for different occasions. We are very particular about what we cook and put on the table for different occasions like weddings, or if there is a sad occasion, we cook different types of vegetables. It's interesting to note that. We're mostly vegetarians, and we come from a Vellalar background, which is an agricultural community in Jaffna. So we do a lot of planting of not only rice, but all the vegetables. And during harvest, all this is taken and made into pickles, into dried vegetables for the monsoon season, so that we have stock of all that in our stores. Now, when my grandmother used to make these vegetables, we can have anything from one particular vegetable. She can make anything, 9 dishes maybe. There's such a variety that we have. But the traditional Jaffna Tamil cuisine always incorporated coconut milk, which was very important. We did not use yogurt as such for the cooking. We used a lot of grated coconut and coconut milk and fresh raw spices that were ground to make our curries. Some of the unique dishes that we cooked was the mutton poriyal, as we call it, pal poriyal. Why they called it pal poriyal was because we boiled our meat in coconut milk to soften it with the ginger and the garlic and the spices, and then slowly let it simmer till the milk separated into oil, and dry fried it with that oil to make it into a beautiful aromatic dry curry, which was delicious, and it's one of the most popular dishes. But I must say that when we came to Malaya, our Ceylon Tamils brought with them the idiyappam, which is the string hoppers, and the sodi, which was very important to them, and the muringakai curry, because most of them were still very much more leaning towards vegetarianism. And because most of the personnel who were in the railways, the Malayan railways, which was then called the FMSR, they would pass this little tiffin carrier of sodi and idiyappam onto the train to be passed on to a young man who is down the road, a few stations away in some remote area, for him to get a real proper Jaffna meal which he really missed from home, simply because he was not with his mother or not with his wife. His wife might have gone home to have a baby. And because of this, that FMSR railway line was called Sodi Express. And that was an interesting pseudonym which was named, and they also called it Jaffna Express at one stage. So for many years, the Sodi Express was coined because of the sodi that used to be put into these tiffin carriers and taken from one station to another station. When we talk about vatalappam, for example, that is a coconut milk-based dessert. It's a custard. The origins of that custard, interestingly enough, comes from the Moors, that were some of the earliest settlers, earliest colonists that settled in Jaffna because of the trade, of centuries of trade that they did, taking cinnamon and spices from Jaffna and from other parts of Ceylon to the west, to the merchants of Venice. They not only took that, but they also took pearls and gems and other stuff that Ceylon produced. The Ceylon Tamil cuisine is not very familiar in the commercial side of Singapore. You know, like you find restaurants here of Indian cuisine, but you don't get Ceylon Tamil cuisine easily. It's not that it's any different from the Chettinad cuisine or the Kerala cuisine. It's quite similar, but somehow or other, it is more home-cooked. I'm very proud of my heritage, of my cuisine. There is a huge integration of all sorts of spices that we freshly grind together and make our curries. We're very proud of that practice even today. I still grind my own spices and make my curries, and that's what makes it very, very unique, as opposed to buying curry powders, commercial curry powders, and using it in the curries. I express my heritage in my cooking, and I'm very proud of that. And I hope that I will have the continuity of that with my children and my grandchildren, because I have passed on the baton to them by producing something written for them to move forward, so that that heritage is not lost.